News Radio. I'm Chris Coraggio.
Multiple people are injured and a suspect is in custody following an attack at a mall in Boulder, Colorado. FBI Director Kash Patel is describing today's incident at the Pearl Street Mall as a targeted terror attack, but Boulder police were not ready yet to make that designation. A man reportedly set people on fire, and police said multiple victims had burn-related injuries. Police said the area is not yet safe. Some of the injuries are reportedly life-threatening. The Anti-Defamation League said on social media the attack took place at the Boulder Run for Their Lives event. The weekly gathering of Jewish community members is meant to support the hostages taken during the October 7th attacks in Israel in 2023. House Speaker Mike Johnson is defending the so-called big, beautiful spending bill, which faces an uphill battle in the Senate. He told NBC's Meet the Press there are no Medicaid cuts in the bill, despite claims to the contrary. Johnson said it actually strengthens all safety net programs by cutting fraud, waste, and abuse. After the Senate vote, House lawmakers will have to approve changes.
I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
KCAA. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Justice Watch with Attorney Zulu Ali. I am Attorney Zulu Ali with the Justice Watch crew: Rosa Nunez, Michael Bilal Clark, Dr. Kil Bashir, Andrea Rodeman, and Ryan Rhodes. This week, like every week, we'll be discussing critical legal and social justice issues that are impacting our communities. This week, the name of our show is Modern Day Buck Breaking. Or is there modern day buck breaking in the American criminal justice system? What do you think about that? So that's interesting. You hear me? You there, Bilal?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So anyway, so basically, so that I can be clear about what we're going to be talking about, because I think that is a title that could be interpreted in many different ways. But the purpose of me addressing this issue is the fact that I believe that, I mean, you hear about this ongoing and systemic, or what seems to be a systemic attack on African American males who ultimately become extremely successful. I mean, from O.J. Simpson to Michael Jackson, to Bill Cosby, to R. Kelly, so to speak, P. Diddy. We also, we saw what happened with Jonathan Majors. It seems that there has been, and even, Tiger Woods, to be quite honest, there seems to be, and even to be honest, even when we think about Michael Jordan, there's always this effort to seem to attack the legacy one way or the other. Whenever there's somebody successful that that we lean, and it begins when there had been actually a concerted effort. Like right now, I mean, it's kind of like a conspiracy theory. People say, this is a conspiracy theory when you have someone who says every time there's a successful black man, then, they seem to try to take them down. They say, well, who is they? And, they're doing this to themselves. But what we do know is that basically, I mean, it begins with even during the time of slavery. If you go back to the time of slavery, there had always been this effort to, whenever you punish someone, that you punish them in the presence of other black, it wasn't a private affair. It was always done in the presence of other people, so that, the other slaves could see the punishment, to let hey, this is what's going to happen to you if you get out of line. And then, you also saw it during the time of Jim Crow, where they used to, hang black men and women. And when they did it, they always left them on the tree. It wasn't like they hung them and got them down or let them down. They hung them, oftentimes castrating them, and just leaving them there so that everybody could see, the strange fruit. Then you go into the time of the civil rights movement during COINTELPRO and J. Edgar Hoover's doctrine about destroying the character of black men or pitting black people against each other. We saw what they did with Dr. King. We saw that they intentionally called Dr. King to threaten him, that they were going to destroy his character by exposing his infidelity. So there's always been this concerted effort. And if the FBI is doing it, obviously there's something behind it. If slave masters were doing this, there's something behind it. If during Jim Crow, when Klansmen or even the government itself would punish someone, there's something behind it. It's to, expose, hey, this is what happens if you're going to get out of line, or if you become powerful. And when we say power, there's a difference between power and wealth. I think that, you can be wealthy and not have any real power. You know what I mean? So in other words, oftentimes there's wealthy people who they keep in check, saying, if you get out, if you do something slick, this is kind of what we're going to do to you. And we saw that even with Shedeur Sanders, and we saw what happened in the draft. We saw that was nothing but 110% buck breaking, modern day buck breaking. They didn't like the fact that he was arrogant, so to speak, what they perceive as arrogant as opposed to being confident. I mean, I was, although growing up, I was always a football fan. I played football. But as an adult, I mean, I basically stopped watching football. I don't pay too. And in fact, oftentimes I didn't even know who was in the Super Bowl to the day of the Super Bowl or when it got close. However, when Colorado started playing, and we saw Deion Sanders and the way he was doing things. I mean, I thought that the optics were good. I thought it gave a great message of a black man who had two sons, that he was, like, we're the only people that, criticizes nepotism. You know what I mean? So we're criticizing him for giving his sons an opportunity, but they seem and I was paying attention to Colorado, even when they were in Jackson State, I was paying attention. There was never anything about his sons. I was actually impressed that they seem to be, in light of the fact of having a father like Deion Sanders, they seem pretty humble to me. And they seem to be they worked really hard. He seemed to be a really tough kid because Colorado, man, they were wearing him out. I mean, he had no offensive line. He was tough, taking hits. It seems that even his son, Shiloh, seemed to be extremely tough and very respectful. But it seemed like they were trying to, I mean, for him to go in the 5th round, that was completely ridiculous. Right. I mean, and for them to say the things that they said about the young man, it seemed to, and plus, I mean, they were probably jealous of Deion because, I mean, they've already, for the 3rd season, they're already sold out even before the season started. They were getting more attention than a lot of NFL teams. He was getting more attention than a lot of NFL teams. So, I mean, there's a lot of jealousy that goes with that. And that was like putting, you had to check him. You know what I mean? And, so I think that there is a concerted effort for not black wealth. They don't have no problem with black wealth or black men making money. They just have a problem with black men making money and being free. Or making moves that seem like they're going to, because I mean, you consider with the money that we have in the black community, you see with the fact that you see the fact that we have billionaires in the black community, whether you're talking about Jay-Z or whether you're talking about, especially as it relates to the entertainers, Oprah. As long as they don't step out of line, then they cool. But as soon as someone goes out and starts speaking their mind and doing something that's going to make a move that may be something that's going to really help black people, then it becomes a problem. So, there is this thing that, no matter what the statistics is crazy, even when it comes to black people that are pursuing, I was watching something the other day where this brother who was an imam, or who was a minister rather, I'm not going to say an imam, but he was a minister with the NOI. I cannot think of his name, but he was being interviewed by what's the brother that was a court, Cam Newton, and he used the N word, but I'm going to use the word nickel to avoid using the N word. So he says, what was it? He said, nickel dance, nickel sing, nickel jump, or nickel die. That's what they say the slave masters used to say. And, talking about that we are focused on just the pursuits of athletics and the pursuits of entertainment, but we very seldom go in, focus more on other academic pursuits, right? Whether you're talking about the entertainment business out behind the camera, or whether you're talking about other academics, engineering, medicine, science, or whatever, but what we don't see is that the numbers as it relates statistically to black men in other pursuits, whether you're talking about academia and getting tenure in some of the schools, some of the prestigious schools, getting jobs at some of these schools, whether you're talking about science, math, law, medicine, dental, whatever, when you look at how many people are admitted to the schools, admitted to the practice, how many of them are targeted in their practices, people don't understand that a lot of people are targeted even in their practices. People don't understand that they make it hard for you at every level. As numbers don't lie, you would almost have to believe that no matter what pursuit that black people pursue, that it's difficult, that we just aren't capable of being successful, that the numbers just happen to just be against us in everything that we pursue. The reality of it is that the system has been set up to make things more difficult for you, and for you to be the focus of the criticism, or focused on even when in the criminal justice system, when you look at the numbers against us, the poverty, jobs, there's a lot of things that are going on there. But when you talk about getting to a level of success, it doesn't even stop once you get at the top of the food chain. They still try to make things difficult for you, because they don't want you to be free. And then when you get to that level where you act like you free, then they come after you. It's just like when you think about P. Diddy, and you listening to a lot of what they're talking about with what he's doing. Like they're making a RICO case out of a freakazoid at this point. If you look at who's the name of the guy who did Hustler magazine? Larry Flint. When you look at the Playboy Mansion, when you look at, you hear more about this than even what was his name? Epstein. Yeah. Come on. So this is the centerpiece, and we're all talking about this guy and what's happening. And it's not the fact that I'm here to defend P. Diddy, or to say that anything that he does is right or wrong, but it's just that they scrutinize you to the extent. Look, I'm going to tell you, I do not believe that black people do dirt at a higher level than anybody else. No way. I believe they just focus on us more than they do anybody else. Everybody does dirt at the same rate. They just focus on us more than anyone else. And like even and the sickness of us is that basically, if someone was to say that Hugh Hefner had freak offs at the Playboy Mansion. Do you think they would bring a RICO case against him? Do you think that podcast people would be sitting there talking about the freak offs? Do you think the FBI would be investigating freak offs? None of that would happen. They're doing it because of him getting to a level, and he seemed, number one, to be low hanging fruit, and number two, you always got a green light to go after a black man. You don't really have to, second guess that objective, right? So, come on. I mean, if you hear as an attorney listening to, because obviously it's not broadcasted live, it's in federal court, but to hear some of the testimony, some of it is crazy. They're like, okay, so some dude gets on there named the Punisher. That gets up there and testifies about how he does this went on for years. She arranged certain things. He even made it clear that it didn't seem like, she was doing this basically on her own free will. It didn't seem like he was making. See, this is what's happening. It was all about the bag for her, in my opinion. It seemed like up until this point, because, look, man. We're in the Me Too time period. So, okay, you want to be Me Too, so let's just be Me Too. Let's hold, since we're in a time period where men and women are the same, right? Ain't that where we at now? Men and women are exact same. So if men and women are going to be the exact same, let's treat them the same. Do you think that they would treat him the same way if Cassie was a man? So she was an adult. She's got to be responsible. Do I believe that everything that he did was, okay, so he allegedly assaulted her on the video. He should be prosecuted for assaulting somebody, for battery, assault, or whatever he was doing. But I just find it hard to believe that and I actually did a human trafficking case where an expert said that every woman that was a prostitute was a victim. That was her analysis. I disagree with that. That would be like every woman who chooses to sell her body and work under a pimp is a victim. I think all of it's terrible, whether it's the prostitute, the pimp, whatever. And I understand these women who are young, they get into these situations, but she is an adult. He isn't a great person. They helped to celebrate him, right? They had no problem with him until, I understand that he tried to make some moves that maybe people didn't agree with. And then the next thing you know, we got a problem with him.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying this. I definitely think that he's a terrible person. I definitely think that he should be in jail for those assaults, because the video is it's clear as day that he abused her. And we know that's from the stories. I believe that. The issue I have with this is I do think they're trying to take the abuse that he was giving and doing to her and other women and other people in that situation and trying to build a case for the RICO and the other issues, the other things like that. Like they're trying to say, oh, he's a bad person, so he clearly would do these other things. And that's not what we're, in court for. So like when you have Kid Cudi, who was a woman, a guy that she was dating, and, he's telling a story about how Diddy, blew up his car and stuff like that. That really has nothing to do with the case that they're talking about in court, but you're just trying to like damage the perception of him to help aid you to get the goal, of course, of like prosecuting and getting a guilty.
Prejudice the jury.
Yes, prejudice the jury. Exactly. So that's the issue I have. I'm like, because the one thing I will say, I'm confused on like how the RICO thing, maybe you could explain that, the RICO situation with him, because they haven't put anybody else in the RICO. It's just him. Right. So I'm confused on
how he's running the criminal enterprise.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And that's my issue with it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like the whole, freaky parties and stuff like that, that was something, like you said, that was celebrated when it came to the Playboy Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were TV shows that
Mhm.
showcase, naked women, and I
Mhm.
mean, even if you're not saying explicitly this was happening, like we can infer what you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
say is happening at these places, like, and I don't know, like you can't put him in jail for being freaky,
Mm-hmm. Right.
you can't
Yeah.
do that, especially if it seems like in Cassie's case, and like I know she was young and she has to be held accountable. I do think there, to give her some grace, there is a power dynamic to it,
Right.
where he has leverage over her career and certain aspects like that, which makes it easy to say, hey, why don't you just leave? But we saw her kind of try to leave,
Yeah.
and he dragged her back into the room and probably was threatening her and to cut her finances and ruin her career. And in some aspects, he actually did that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they really are killing the perception of him to get him, for other things.
Yeah.
That's pretty evident in this situation.
Right.
And he is a terrible human being. I want to keep saying that. He seems to be a terrible human being
Yeah.
for sure. But you can't put him in jail for being a terrible human being if you weren't like actually charging him for those specific instances. You're not charging for that. You're charging for a RICO, and that doesn't seem to be coming together for me in this situation currently. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm correct, they were saying that they were trying to get him for racketeering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm trying to see how all this fit together. And I get it that that he has all of this stuff that they keep bringing up about him, and like you say, it's all along the lines of some freaky stuff. I mean, if we put a camera in much of these celebrities' bedrooms and these hotel rooms, we'll probably find a whole lot of people that's doing exactly the same thing that P. Diddy is doing. But when you start looking at this public lynching, or however you want to put it, where you just putting people on display. I mean, if you go back in history, a lot of these other people weren't put on public display like Jeffrey Einstein, whatever his name is. People weren't put on display like that. And it's only when it comes to African Americans do they actually publicize individuals like this. We want you to see this so you don't get out of line. And I think there's always this underlying agenda in order to keep people in their place. Is that, look, we're gonna show this, that we're gonna get the biggest and the baddest people who you think that's the richest, and we're gonna lynch them right in front of you so you can see where you don't get out of line. And you go along with the program. I mean, we looking at it now like they just came out with a couple of weeks ago that they after Smokey Robinson now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. I'm like, man, it's the same as Bill Cosby. You going back to the 1970s? Somebody coming in, and I don't know if it's the 1970s, but come on, this is Smokey, and you going after his legacy now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the MO. I mean, it just seems. I mean, this is the thing about it seems that because let's just go back and let's just be. I'm big on hypocrisy, right? I mean, I think that what's hypocritical about, what happens with people when they put people into power and they give them that opportunity. The abuse of power is just rampant in this country. I mean, we need to go back and look at, the fact that that's how we became a country. What we see P. Diddy doing, especially when it comes to objectifying human beings and human trafficking, is how we became a nation. America became a nation by exploiting human capital. They raped our women, they raped our men, and they raped our children. That's a fact. That was not something that was some timing. That was basically the fabric of American society, is the exploitation of human beings. And what is crazy to me is the fact that we do not sit back, and it's almost like we act like none of that ever happened. They exploit the worst part of America. That was the centuries of that. I mean, that's the majority of what America was exploiting and killing and taking advantage of human beings. That was at the essence and the fabric of who we are as a society. And the only way that you can digest it, the only way you can rationalize it, is based upon some degree of forgiveness and redemption. But our government is the most unforgiving people that I've ever seen when it comes to prosecuting human beings. Because it's not really, the choosing who is going to be the subject of a prosecution or the subject of an investigation is more important than the investigation or prosecution itself, right? Because the reality of it is you can almost prosecute anybody or investigate anybody. You can find, if you can prosecute someone, I mean, it's almost like they went in, it's like, okay, let's see Diddy and let's go in and dig up dirt on them and figure out a way to prosecute them. That's the way they prosecute people. They pile on as much possible as they possibly can to get rid of them and put them away. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way that they do it. And not only do they do that, I mean, they do that even with our children. There is no interest in trying to figure out ways to stop any of this stuff. Diddy is a very sick individual, right?
For sure.
But he's sick like a lot of people. The porn industry is profitable for a reason, right? There's we've seen shows on HBO, right? You know what I mean? I mean, come on, man. There's freaks all over this country.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? There are parties like that all over this country. He just happens to have enough money that he gets to have a live show.
Yeah.
That's it. He had a live porno show. Like, I'm so rich, I don't have to rent the DVD. I can just basically just have it right here in my bedroom.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's really what happened. So, but however, it's not illegal to, there's there's pornography. You can get it on television, right? DVDs, all that. You can go to Las Vegas and get it right there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, we objectify women all over the place. Look at regular television. Look at how they even are young girls now. You know what I mean? I mean, look at, the way that they objectify children, the things children are wearing, the things children are seeing.
Yeah.
Right? Even the whole idea, I mean, it's just all over the place. So, I mean, it's the same thing with R. Kelly. Is R. Kelly a sick human being? Of course he is.
1000%.
You know what I mean? We knew that R. Kelly married Aaliyah when he started in the industry. It's like, oh, you just know that? We knew that he had this thing for young girls. You know what I mean? So, and now they did a show. What was the name of the show? Something R. Kelly? Surviving R. Kelly. And he becomes the subject of an investigation and prosecution. Because of a special. It was, you know what I mean? So, they chose to do that. And sometimes I don't think we're our worst enemy sometimes in the crime itself. Sometimes we become the worst enemy in the way that we do each other. I mean, like, if you go to, like, I'm a YouTube watcher now, and I watch all these podcasts, and all we do is hype up the hype. You know what I mean? I mean, we condemn each other so much that it's crazy. You know what I mean? And that's the internalized racism that we've basically internalized it to the point where sometimes we are the overseers in many ways with some of the stuff that's actually going on. So, I mean, it's you know, it's crazy, but it's so true. And you know, and it's crazy. I mean, the legacy of Bill Cosby, man. No matter, I mean, Bill Cosby, you know, the money that he gave to these institutions,
That's a tough one.
the stuff that the content of his art, and the fact that he was committed to producing and showing us, you know, great content and the greatness of Black people, whether you're talking about the Cosby Show or A Different World
Fat Albert.
or Fat Albert. The
Yeah.
money he gave, I mean, Fisk was like gone. And he gave all, I mean, he was really, I mean, so he was doing all these things, and in one fell swoop, you know, his legacy is just gone. I mean, does, you know, I mean, Bill obviously, like everybody else, is not a perfect man, but nobody is. And again, you know, you go back all that time, and then these people all of a sudden, because you're low hanging fruit, you know, they went after the bag. He wanted to do the same thing with Michael Jackson. You know,
Yeah.
there's no question in my mind that Michael was the subject of, you know, they got together and decided they wanted to go after Michael Jackson.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all by any measure at all, but there's one conspiracy I do like subscribe to, and it is connected to the Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson owned one of the most lucrative music catalogs
The Beatles.
ever, the Beatles. And he,
Yeah.
like Sony, he owned like half of Sony, 3/4 of Sony, or anything like that. I've always thought that the case with him and you know the children, even though there was multiple different accounts where every kid say nothing happened, nothing
Mhm.
happened, nothing happened, that was intended to bleed him of his money and have him eventually sell that catalog.
Right.
I've always like subscribed to that. That's
Mhm.
one that I will subscribe to for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, and then we already know that those little boys, a lot of them, they already admitted that they lied,
Yeah.
you know.
Because their parents got them to say it and all that type of stuff.
Right. The money that came out of the, you know, the situation. The same thing with, like, you know, Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I think that was crazy. You know, I mean, it goes on and on. You know, Tiger Woods, his legacy. You know, I mean, of course, he's still a great golfer, but it's just like, you know, once you get to that, it's just like you know, it's like you're a whooping boy. Once it's, you know, we got Shannon now,
Sure.
right? You know,
Yeah.
in his situation,
Yeah.
you know, you're a mark.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, you know, it's a reality that sometimes that we have to understand that, you know, we're not making this stuff up.
Yeah.
You know, we really aren't. I mean, when it comes to the fact that you're being targeted in a way that many other people aren't targeted. Because I mean, you know, because I tell you that, well, and I know that this is Justice Watch, and I just kind of want to just kind of go from the issue of how justice, you know, I'm very, very disappointed in the American justice system. I just have to be honest with you, man. I mean, every now and then, I mean, you know, you do get some justice out of it, and you have to, but you know, it you know, the way that these prosecutors prosecute these cases, and the way that sometimes, you know, to be honest, sometimes the way these judges make their rulings, it's just absolutely crazy. You know what I mean? I mean, because, you know, you get prejudiced so much. Because see, you have to understand the way these cases, like for example, you made a great example, like Kid Cudi and the car. I mean, let's just saying that it was admissible to show a state of mind, or it's admissible to show that her state of mind. I mean, it goes on and on. Or it's just like gang cases, right? Like they, like gang, like a person's gang affiliation should not be admitted into evidence for any reason, because all it does is it prejudices the jury or certain evidence. So that's how they kind of get things in. What can the jury see? Or maybe they can hear, like if you testify, let's say you've been convicted of a felony and you testify, then the jury gets to hear the fact that you've been convicted of a felony. So you don't testify. Is that fair? Is it fair that basically they get to hear the fact that you're your gang moniker, right? Or for identity, like I'm just using that to show how this thing plays out in real time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't play out the way people think it plays out. It plays out, and so the thing is, everybody subscribes to it. See, this is I'm old school, and so my interest came in the law came from the civil rights movement, from civil rights lawyers, Thurgood Marshall, whose their objective was to change the law because it was unfair and it was unjust. But when we get into the system, we just sit there in the system without knowing that the system's wrong. What are you going to do to change it? You know what I mean? And sometimes, that becomes the problem, is how do you get into this system to change it? And even though we may have black faces that come into the system, we're pretty much just unless you're going, and then if you go in and you're setting in a case or a ruling, it's like, okay, let me not rock the boat. And as long as you're not rocking the boat, nothing actually changes. But anyway, talk to me.
I got a question.
Sure.
All right. So I do believe that there is, buck breaking. I do believe that some black men in certain levels are targeted.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand that these men are also specifically doing things that are negative and harmful to our community.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's take the Bill Cosby situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bill Cosby, all accounts point to him being a serial rapist,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also done a lot of amazing things for the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a better way to go about how we handle those situations where there are things that you give to our community that are extremely positive, where if we just completely excommunicate you, we lose access to certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time you're hurting women within our community too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is that a thing where we focus more on rehabilitation? Is that, do we send them to jail like,
Mm-hmm.
we I guess we normally do? Like, is there a better way to go about assessing value?
I think sometimes what happens, and Joe's shaking his head no. I think sometimes it's a matter of the narrative that's created. I mean, the problem that we have is that, forgiveness and redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do I believe, let me give you an example.
Oh.
There was a time, believe it or not, in my opinion, allegedly, that it was very common for men to give things such as, or people in general, like Spanish flies. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Slipping Mickey,
Cocaine,
stuff like that. Yeah.
you know, it was, it was a different time, and people had a different, right, wrong, or otherwise, people saw it differently.
Yeah.
Back 30, 40, 50 years ago. I remember being a kid, and people, they used to, that was a term, Spanish fly. People used to give it to people to get them to do certain things or to do. So we live in a different time now where there's things that at some point in society, it's just like when someone tells you right now, like in America, and you bring up slavery, what do they tell you? That was back then.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like this is something that Bill Cosby did a year prior to him being prosecuted. Some of these cases were 20, 25, 30 years old, 30 years ago. Some of them were very, very old, and because of the way that they, handled the statute of limitations in these types of cases, allowed them to prosecute him. I think that in the case of Bill Cosby, I think it's a lot different than the case of P. Diddy or some of these other cases, in that it was so old, and some of it I don't believe.
Okay.
And this is the way I look at it. And people are going to torch me for saying this. This was Bill Cosby. I don't think Bill Cosby had to spike anybody's drink to get them to do what he wanted them to do. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you, because I know how people get down. I don't, so look, it's just like, okay, I'm just telling you, put some responsibility on it sometimes. If you come up to my room, allegedly, and you wake up because you drank something, and you must have put something in what you gave me, and then you come back again because you drank something and you wake up. Now, how did you know your drink was spiked? It could have just been what was you drinking? Maybe you just got drunk.
That's tough.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it was a line or something. So the thing about it is, for Bill Cosby to have done this to so many women, and nobody really knew about what Bill Cosby was doing, but every woman tells you the same story over a period of time. I mean, it's hard to keep them kind of secrets in Hollywood and for nobody to get it out. I mean, some of the stuff, it's like with the situation with Kobe. When you got money, all you have to do is say somebody did something, because they got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
They got you, man. I mean, the thing about it is, the one thing that's clear about America is America, when it comes to money, I mean, come on, man. You know what I mean? He basically is a serial give you drugs rapist.
For sure.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on, man. I mean, the thing about it is, okay, he raped you, man. Not one of those women went to the police. How many police reports were made? True. If you call me and somebody says, hey, Uncle Zulu, I went to so-and-so's house, I think he drugged and he raped me. What? We going to the police. All these women kept it a secret all these years, right? And come on, man. I mean, now we live in a woman and a man is the same thing.
I hear you.
I mean, come on. I hear you. Okay, so that, because this is the thing, is that we're gonna have to make a choice.
It's hard, bro.
We're gonna have to make a choice as a society. In my opinion, I'm all for a man being a man and a woman being a woman. Everybody, I believe in you know, I'm sounding like a Republican. I believe in the traditional household. I believe a man has a responsibility. I believe a woman's I believe a man's responsibility is no more important than a woman's responsibility. But now we're going into this era where, you know, nobody is taking accountability and responsibility, and everybody's a victim. You know what I'm saying? And now the thing about it is that, come on, I mean, so, you know, people lie, man. I mean, you as a man, look, this is the thing, we're ruining it. If you are a man and you have something to lose, and you are stupid enough in this day and age to be anywhere by yourself with a woman, you're stupid.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
I hear it.
I mean, I have cameras in my office because I don't, for reasons that has nothing to do with somebody breaking in my office. If somebody comes to my office, I say, honey, make sure you come. Wife, please come to the office. I don't want to be here by myself, because all they have to do is say Zulu did X, Y, and Z.
That's fair.
And everybody's going to say Zulu did X, Y, and Z. That's where we are. I mean, come on, man. Just because you say Zulu did something, then I'm going to presume, you know, that's all they have to do now is say, you made me do this. Over and over and over and over again, and you have no accountability, no responsibility. Come on, man. And so, you know, the first time, the second time, come on, man.
Correct. Yeah.
I hear you. And we definitely in a time where the accusation matters more than anything else now. The accusation alone can kill you, right? Because people are just running with it.
Yeah, that's all they have to say.
I
just don't ever don't ever be alone with anybody. That's where we are today.
I hear you.
We can't even trust each other. Like, don't ever be alone. If I can give you some advice, don't be alone with nobody.
100% hear you. I agree.
You know, it's just like the dude. All right, so okay, I woke up. I believe I was drugged the night before. I'm on a sex worker's on one side, Diddy's on the other side. 2 days later, I wake up. I think I got drugged. The sex worker's on one side, Diddy's on the other side. 2 days later, I wake up. I mean, how many times I got to wake up? How many times? I mean, you know what I mean? So I was violated for 3 months. I was violated for 4 months. I was violated for 4 years. I mean, you have to, I mean, listen, we need to pump the brakes, and we need to make sure where we're going in our society. I think we're going the wrong way. And I think that we're not going to like what we're going to end up with in our society. We cannot trust you in American society today. You cannot trust nobody. Because all they have to do is say so-and-so did it. It's just like the situation with, you know, Shannon Sharpe and this girl. I mean, okay, you know, Shannon messing around with this little young girl. He ain't got no business messing around with no little young girl, but she is grown. He says
I agree with Joe. I agree with Joe. That's what I was trying to get to. That's what I was trying to get to the Joe.
Kept coming back, or why they didn't go to the police. I disagree with that.
I agree with Joe.
I disagree with that, man. Because see, the thing about it is that you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And I think that when you come to the issue of what is consent is, did you consent to this? It's like these people are cool with it until things go wrong.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
But could it also be that sort of like, you know, you spoke to, you were like, things used to be okay like back then, and then you like now we're like, okay, things have changed. But could it also be a situation where you thought that it wasn't an issue at the time, or maybe you didn't think it was an issue at the time, and then you learned something later? Okay, maybe that was not a good thing that happened to me. Like, because I can speak to my situation, like people, like my friends now, we look back on things that we were doing like in middle school, and we can look back at now and be like, that actually was
well, she should be charged for calling them. She's a co-conspirator. You know what I'm saying? I mean, where does it end, man?
Yeah.
I mean, we have everybody blames everybody for their actions.
Yeah.
That's why we are the end of society. I mean, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. This is what I think. I mean, we're in big trouble, man. Nobody's accountable for, everybody has to blame someone else for what's going on in their life. At some point in time, you have to be responsible for your own actions. At some point in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now it's like we live in a society where it's always somebody else's. It's like, okay, Diddy made all these people do all this stuff. Look, I don't care what you do. Diddy ain't gonna make me go to bed with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But even in his case, this Kelsey's saying that this been going on for over 7-8 years, and they was in different places at different times, and she was scared to detach herself away from him. I mean, she could be away in another country, but she would always keep coming back to this situation over and over again, and that's what's mind-boggling to me. I mean, how much control do you have over a person to the point where you just don't get away?
I'm telling you, we're sending. There's
a lot of money involved with this. There's a lot that goes on. It's even with the R. Kelly situation. Not saying that these individuals is not fit. Not saying that they're not guilty of what they're doing, but somebody has to take more accountability on the opposite side. Just like all the parents that was pushing their children up under R. Kelly because of the money.
I mean, this is the thing. The one thing that's good about the criminal justice system is that it's the great equalizer. The one thing that's true about the criminal justice system is that everybody that gets charged has a different opinion of the criminal justice system. Until it happens to you, until that one person says, hey, yeah, we went out on the date and I did go back to his apartment, and yeah, he did take advantage of me. Right? Legally, I should be held to a standard of, I'm going to presume that person to be innocent until you prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Because now I'm telling you, hey, anybody, and there's so many people that are in jail either for something they didn't do, or they've been charged for something that they shouldn't got charged with. Because sometimes the truth is somewhere in between. And now the message that we're sending is, all you have to do is say he did something.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to say. They can dirty you up so easy. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, because I'm telling you, there's people that spend 20, 30, 40 years in prison just because somebody made an allegation that's not true. And we have to, at some point in time, and I understand, I'm glad that you're making the statement, because the way you feel is a way that a lot of people feel. And we need to make sure that we bring that to the forefront and understand that, yes, if someone is a victim of a crime, if somebody walks in and pulls out a gun and shoots somebody innocently, or snatches up somebody innocently and rapes them and that sort of thing, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, that's what we have that system for. But I'm saying we're spending a lot of resources, and we are at a time period in our society where accountability needs to be in the forefront. I just think that everybody is a victim now. I mean, I think that we're headed into a bad place, man. I just really think we're headed towards a bad place, man. I really do.
I hear you.
And I'm saying that, do I believe that Diddy is, I mean, and this goes beyond whether Diddy is guilty or not. I think a lot of where I'm going with it is just an analysis of the no Diddies, like the people in the everyday, what you call it. Yeah, man, what y'all think about the conversation?
It's a tough one, and it takes a lot of nuance. I think it also, it's a tough one. Like I think that it's very hard to, in a lot of situations, to say what you would do in a situation that a victim's in. So I know
I'm the father of 4 daughters and 3 granddaughters. So I get it. Because if I think somebody did something to mine, man, we got a big problem.
Of course.
But at the same time, we teach them. You got to teach them.
Yeah.
All right. But at any rate, man, thank you for, man, that time went too fast. I wanted to get on the second end of that one. You came in with that too late, man. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, same channel. Until that time, stay blessed.
Listening to KCAA Loma Linda and 106.5 FM, K293CF Moreno Valley.
You're listening to an encore presentation of this program, KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.